Here's how you can get more effectiveness out of your 10,000 steps per day walking. How you can get more fat burning, more potential weight loss, more metabolic effect without actually having to start running. After today's video, I popped a link down below for Thrive Market, which is an online membership-based grocery store. So everything I'm talking about today obviously goes in line with a good diet. The cool thing about Thrive Market is that they have already chosen foods that are healthy to be on their digital grocery shelves, so to speak. They've done the vetting for you. Like if you go to a grocery store, you might watch my grocery haul videos and be like, oh, Thomas says not to get that. Thomas says to get that, not that. Thrive Market already does the work. Okay, that's why I've worked with them for so long as a partner on my channel, right? They've always been a sponsor on this channel almost as long as this channel's been around because we agree on so many things as far as what ingredients should be in food. So that link down below saves you 25% off your entire grocery order. So you choose whatever it is you want, you get 25% off that first grocery order, and you get a $50 free gift when you use that link down below. So check them out to get some groceries delivered to your doorstep. It's a total game changer. I'm a huge fan of walking because you're tapping into what is called beta oxidation. You're not pushing it so hard that you're crazy exhausting yourself. You're sitting in that sweet spot where as a percentage, most of the fuel you are using is fat. So we want to be able to level this up just enough to squeeze more energy demand out of your walk without actually breaking into a run or power walking like kind of an interesting looking person out there. So the first thing that you can do is get an appropriately weighted weight vest. Now, that sounds very basic. You probably want to click off this video, but I'm going to teach you how to choose the right weight vest for you, okay? Because when you're walking, if you look at this chart, there's a study that was done on this, and there is what is called a curvilinear relationship. So as there is a heavier weight vest, the faster that you walk, you start to see it hockey stick up. Now, this relationship is with what's called oxygen consumption. So basically, how hard the actual workout is. When we're walking, we don't want to make it so hard that we're becoming anaerobic and turning it into an anaerobic workout. We want to still keep it aerobic, but at the relatively moderate to high end of aerobic, which is difficult to do with just straight walking. But when we add a vest, clearly, as you can see by the chart, this is doable. Now, what you will notice with this is that if you're wearing a lighter vest, it takes longer and more speed for you to get much of a result from that lighter vest. If you're wearing a heavier vest, you start to see much more oxygen consumption the moment you start going faster. So what we learned from this is that if you're a slow walker, you can go with a heavy weight vest, but you're not getting an extra lot of benefit by wearing a very heavy vest and trying to go fast. You're actually going to find the best result by going with a moderately light vest and increasing your pace. So for me, I'm 180 pounds or so. I prefer to wear like a 10 or 15 pound vest, nothing crazy, and try to keep my pace up. That gets me the best rate of oxygen consumption and maximal fat burning. If I throw a 40-pound vest on, which I've certainly done before, and try to walk fast, first of all, my gait pattern is messed up, and second of all, I just end up anaerobic. I just end up like I'm huffing and puffing like I'm doing a bunch of resistance training, CrossFit style workout. I'm trying to just increase the effectiveness of my 10,000 steps per day. And with that, I can wear a low-key type, like 10-pound vest that can literally go under my shirt, and I don't have to look like I'm walking around with a bulletproof vest on. Okay, the second thing that you can do, and this sounds so like minimal and pathetic, but change the terrain that you walk on. And I'm a big data guy, right? So a lot of times I just walk to walk, but I look backwards and I see the data. If you change the terrain that you walk on, just by the co-activation of different muscles, you burn a lot more fuel. Our bodies have developed efficiency with walking on flat ground, okay? But if you change the terrain and you start walking on dirt, on rocks, and sand, it makes a huge difference. In fact, there was a study that was published in the Journal of Experimental Biology that looked at uneven terrain and found when you walked on uneven terrain, there was a 62% increase in positive knee work and a 26% increase in negative knee work. What that means is that not there was a 62% increase in energy need, but there was a 62% increase in how the knee had to work. What this tells us is that all this co-activation of different muscles is costing us metabolic energy, and that is going to tax our body in a good way and get us more fat loss and get us more metabolic effect. So in order of sort of how difficult it is, pavement is going to be the easiest, grass is going to be next, dirt because there's less traction, and if you're walking for an hour or two, that stuff adds up. Okay, then after dirt, you're going to move into rocks because you have to kind of move up and over, and then after that, sand, obviously the worst. That's a hard one, right? Sand plus weight vest equals pretty miserable. But you don't want to necessarily go that far. If you go in the sand, you just want to walk kind of slow with a weight vest and just get that nice burn, almost as though you're emulating running but without the concussion on the joints. Okay, the next thing that you can do to increase the effectiveness of your walking is simply walking in a fasted state. Since walking burns so much fat as a percentage of fuel, walking when you're fasted is like the safest time to almost ensure that you're not going to burn up muscle. If you're fasted and you go for a run, you run the risk of burning up some muscle because you're going glycolytic and your body has to start breaking down proteins into amino acids and has to do that. But if you're walking, very, very little do you have to break down protein. You're able to be moving at a slow enough pace where you're utilizing fat. So if you have no food in your system and low glucose or moderate glucose because you haven't eaten, this is the ideal time to be burning fat. So get your 10,000 steps in as much of a fasted state as you possibly can. Okay, the next one is hills, which again, it sounds so elementary and basic. But when you walk on hills, you increase the metabolic demand significantly. And there's studies that demonstrate that glucose tolerance improves and metabolic adaptations occur at even a slight incline. Because again, we develop efficiency to walking on the flat ground. But once we start increasing that elevation, it makes a big difference. And something that you can do to try out is take a backpack and literally fill it with rocks. Sounds crazy. You're gonna go on a hike, okay? Now, instead of just using your body weight to get up the hill, you're gonna add maybe 5 pounds, 10 pounds of rocks. It's gonna take less weight to have more impact when you're walking up a hill. So 5 pounds, 10 pounds is all you need. You might be thinking, why don't I just use a weight vest? Well, because at the top of the hill, you can dump the rocks. That way you don't have to carry the weight downhill on your joints. So you're getting all the metabolic benefit and conditioning without the trauma and the damage on your joints of adding 10 pounds to your body weight coming down a hill. The fifth thing that you can do, which is probably going to be very easy for most people, is have caffeine before your walks, especially in a fasted state. Caffeine mobilizes fat. It triggers lipolysis, so it's going to allow fat to mobilize more, which means you're going to utilize more of it. So have a cup of black coffee before your walk, and then there you go. The fat is liberated, and the fat is what you are using as a fuel source predominantly during your low intensity walks like this. So it's a quick way to enhance the effectiveness of your 10,000 steps per day. And the last one is one that's very odd, but we've all seen the Liver King doing weird things like this, and we've been seeing it happen more frequently. In fact, there's a guy named David Weck. I'm not sure if you know of him. He's the inventor of the Bosu ball, and he's become a pretty good friend of mine. He's a cool guy, always doing unique kind of weird things. But he's using ankle weights all the time. Like on his rest days, he's bringing them back. And now they're starting to make them where they look a little bit cooler, where you can barely tell you're wearing them. They're like almost just like your socks. Again, this is some easy way where just walking around your house or walking around your office, or now since they look a little bit cooler, you can just walk around the store. It's forcing you to use a lot more muscle activation with just a couple pounds because it's at the end of an extremity. So from a leverage standpoint, it's at the weakest point for you to be able to move it. So you really have to work. So it sounds crazy, and it might actually help you be more aware of your feet, encouraging you to pick up and step and place your feet a little bit more where you should place them. And the reason you want to do this, you always want to remind yourself of your foot placement. And it becomes so normal and just everyday life for us that, yeah, we lose touch with it, especially when we're wearing shoes all the time. We don't feel what our feet feel like. Adding some weight is a quick way to change this and enhance your 10,000 steps per day. I'll see you tomorrow.